go?
Fine.
Right.
Go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, and action. Right, watch out, welcome back. Okay, now the other day I gave you a little insight into what we're going to do with this. It's the simple skills on the 4-inch grinder. Now the venerable 4-inch grinder, as you can see, one of these is a tool that I use on just about every single fabrication video. And quite a lot of you have asked for simple skills on it to see how to use it, what it's about, what it does, safety tips, and so you know a little bit more about it, and maybe you, in your own way, can use one safely without hurting yourself. So that about right, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, welcome back to Delboy's Garage. Let's get going. Okay, 4-inch grinder. It's kind of, if you like, you could say it's related to the electric drill family. You've got a motor inside that spins, just like an electric drill. Instead of having a chuck coming out the end with a drill bit in the end, what you've got instead is a 90-degree gearbox. It transfers the drive out the side of the end of the tool, and it's got this spline in the centre. So I'm going to take the blade out and show you. Here we are. That's the basic central spinning shaft. Simply got a bevel gear in the end. So you've got a big electric motor inside there, big powerful chunky electric motor that's got loads of grunt. That spins, turns that 90 degrees, and then you've got all the power coming out the end. I'll give you a quick look at that. Quite straightforward. We'll switch off the power anytime you're playing with this end of it. So just have a quick look at this. This is a Bosch grinder. I've used cheap ones in the past. They're just rubbish. They just fall to bits. They don't last very long. The electric motors burn out quite quickly because you do lean on them. You put a lot of work on them. But this one, I've had this for about 5 years, this German Bosch version, and it has never let me down. I'm not endorsing it. Other products are available. But this one is a really good one. It was about £50. Not expensive for what it is. You can get them cheaper, and there are better ones. You can get Hilti and that sort of thing. But how much you spend on it depends on how much you can afford, like all things. All right, so what we've got in this here, I want to show you this. We'll just strip this a little bit further till we get right back to the bare tool. There's a little handle in there. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
A little handle. Turn that. Can you come in close? There's a little lever in there that releases this guard. And when you turn the guard round, it lifts off because you've obviously got these patterned teeth that follow a pattern on the spline. So that body now, that is completely naked. And all I'm going to do with that, as you should do with these periodically, is sweep the dust and all the crap off the end of it. That's good clean. Alright, now it must be said, and I absolutely positively have to say this, you will see people using these without that guard on. I cannot stress enough, never take the guard off your grinder, ever, for any reason. People are doing it, honestly, they're just being fly. That's just their choice. They choose to take such a risk, and it can do a nasty injury. The reason is that these discs, I'll show you these examples of some discs here. These discs are made for the job. Let's just get that to a little bit. And there's 4 different examples of discs. That's a thick 4 or 5 mil thick grinding disc for grinding heavy lumps of metal and taking off quite a lot of metal. And not really for cutting, that's just for grinding. That's a thinner disc, that's a 3 mil cutting disc, you can get them thinner than that. That's a diamond edged steel disc. You can cut everything with that, from steel to concrete to just about anything. Just about anything a diamond disc will cut, but they're quite noisy and they get very hot. And that is a flat disc, you might have heard of these. What that is basically a load of little sheets, if you look close. It's a load of little sheets of sandpaper, they're all glued into place, like little layers, you can see in the edge. Little layers of sandpaper. This particular one's an 80 grit, so that's quite tough. And that spins at such a rate that will grind metal away. That will sand it down faster than you can with a camera hand. But look, let's just reassemble this as quick as we can. Pop the guard on first. So you're right down to the bare grinder itself. Pop the guard on. You can see this little handle in the back just comes in and it locks in the teeth. So how yours works, you might have a different system. I don't know. But that comes in, and if you can see the little 3 teeth?
Just.
Is they come in, see them popping in?
Yeah.
So that has, what, 4 positions. 1, 2, 3, 4. That when you're grinding something, the idea of this guard is that as the sparks fly off, they don't come back at you, because obviously they are molten pieces of metal, and they'll come at you and they'll burn and they'll blind and they're just nasty injuries. And of course the other side of it is if that flares off into something soft or a cloth or something, you can set fire to it. So have to be careful. The guard is very, very important. Make sure it's properly located. I'm going to stick mine just a bit further around, like that. Now then you've got this, which is the little block on the back. The shaft itself has got 2 shoulders. All right, and you've got the 2 shoulders in that block there. So that goes on and locates on the 2 shoulders. And that means that that will turn with the blade. So you turn this flat plate. Purpose of this flat plate is because that's rough like that. We use the cutting disc. It grabs the back of it, it rubs against the back of there. As you put that on there, it gives it a rough surface to grip it. That's all it is, it's just a grip. And you've got this, which is the collar that you screw on the front. Screw the collar on, spin it on, and that holds it together. All it is, it's squeezed. There's no locating splines on these discs. So screw that in, and then as you can see, you've got these 2 holes. Can you come in a bit? You've got 2 little holes there, and you've got one of these spanners. They come in the kit when you buy it, they come with your tool, and all you do is locate those in there, and that allows you to turn it by hand. So that's obviously going to keep turning. So on the back of all grinders, you've got a big red button that locks it. So you press that in, and as you press that, it actually, where are we? There it is. It locks the blade. So you can get the spanner in there and tighten it. Then that is nice and tightly done up. And obviously the way it turns, it does itself up as it turns anyway, so it shouldn't come off. But do make sure it's properly done up. Now at this point, you're ready to cut. You're ready to use that for cutting things. You'll notice there's a couple of threads on each side. And those threads are where a handle goes, like a side handle. So you can fit a handle in there, and you can use it with a handle. But when I use my grinder, I'm always holding the job itself. So when I had the screen the other day and I was cutting that, I'm holding the screen with one hand, I'm grinding with the other. So I haven't got any reason for the handle and it gets in the way. So it is detachable, you don't have to have it on there, but it's just there for use. It's in the box there. So what I'm going to do with this now, at this point we're ready to cut some stuff. So I'm going to show you what it can basically do. But we're going to do that. The most important thing when using a grinder of any kind, any form of spinning tool, spinning wheels, whatever, is protection, PPE. Use your protection. I'll give these to you, Penny. You can stick those on. Wobble wobble camera.
Nice.
Fantastic. You look lovely. Very fetching. There we go. Right. So what I'm going to do is stick some stuff in the vise. Just pop that in there. That is 2mm thick sheet metal, and we'll just show you how quickly it literally just slices straight through it. Switch you on. There's always a little, when you twitch these on, they always twitch. There's quite a little, if I just hold it gently, you'll see it twitch that way as it goes on. It's caused by the motor. As the motor launches instantly, obviously there's a twisting rotation that way as you switch it on, so be conscious of that. When you fire up a grinder, you'll notice there's quite a little buck to it, like a gyroscopic effect, and that's something that you will feel and you'll get used to handling as time goes on. So. As you can see, straight away there, that took about 2 seconds, literally, to just slice straight through that piece of 2mm steel. If you use something thicker, let's use this little bit of practice world metal. There you go. This is 3mm thick angle iron. Change the disc, put a bigger one in. As the discs wear, these are known as erosion discs, which means that as time goes on, you erode the edge of the disc away, or it also erodes through the metal, and they wear out. They get smaller as time goes on. So that's a bigger one. Put that one in. These are just, you can get different thicknesses. A 1mm erosion disc, very, very thin, super thin. That will slice through even quicker. But there's a 3mm one. That's a piece of angle iron. I'll show you what I mean. loud, isn't it? So as you can see, look, it is a pretty lethal tool. It's just gone through that piece of angle line in about 5 seconds. So it's extremely powerful and extremely efficient tool. But that means naturally, like anything, like a powerful weapon, for instance, it needs respect. It really does. I'll show you something else it can do. If you change the blade, like if you're cutting, good old flat disc. This is one of the most common times I'll use these. A 4-inch grinder is with a flat disc, and if you have, let's find a nasty little bit of bird metal. There we go. We take a look at that. That's a little piece of bird steel. As we've cut it with the grinder, it's made this really nasty sort of 4 or 5 mil or whatever it is size, 1/8 of an inch of metal just bent over, turned into a razor edge. So to slide that off there, again, just put the flat disc in. This is fundamentally a massive file. It's like a big piece of sandpaper. Can you get in close on that with zoom in? Okay, zoom in on close and you'll see what I mean. It will take that edge off in a second. Keep doing that. Plug it in. Again, in a second or two, it just files through it. So you can see that as we're going along here, the 4-inch grinder is incredibly robust. What I've done, what many of you have seen me do as well, is this old trick. What I'll often do is use it in the vise. Pop it in the vise, just gently. And now you can't grip it because it's got a plastic case. All I can do is just pop it in, and that isn't going anywhere. That's now firmly mounted. Now the grinder cover, I can use a little handle if I need to. I can move that round so I've got access to this. There's an arrow on the back of the machine which shows you which way it rotates. So it rotates that way. So I can use this surface here for cleaning, planishing, filing, dressing stuff off. So I'll show you that. Oh God, I'll do that again. Mind you, it's the safest way. I'm going to put a glove on. No, I'm not.
No.
I'm going to put it in a pair of pliers. I'm going to talk about gloves in a minute, just briefly. Just for my safety, so it doesn't tear this out of my hand. I'm just going to use a pair of locking pliers. Alright, switch her on. There we are again. That has made a lovely job of smoothing that off just in a few seconds. It's an amazing labour-saving tool. A 4-inch grinder, you can do so much with it. Now whether it's right and proper, whether the health and safety executive would advocate putting your 4-inch grinder in your vise, I don't know. It's a choice you have to make. I do it. You see me do it all the time. I've done it for many, many years and I've never had a problem. I always make sure it is firmly and securely secured in the vise and it doesn't move. And I make sure I use the right other precautions like glasses. Now the other thing is gloves. A lot of the time you'll see people, they'll put a big ass glove on like that and then they'll pick up their piece of metal and they'll be grinding away. There's a problem with doing that, and that is that machines that spin, the power, the torque, the sheer grunt with which that turns is such that if it were to grab hold of the finger of the glove, it will not stop just there and then. It's not a weak power that turns with. It turns with such force. It will drag the glove in and it will chew it up round on the inside. It will jam it in between the cover. Now when that happens, your finger's inside there. And I've seen people on pillar drills use a glove and they've grabbed hold of the chuck, when it's still spinning in order to stop it, because they're impatient, they want to change the drill bits over or put a countersink bit in or something like that. And while it's still turning, the drill bit or the spinning wheel grabs hold of that part of the glove. You got it close? And it turns it like that. It starts to chew it up, and it starts to do that, and then it grabs hold of, and then it will tear that part of the glove. It will just mince that piece of glove and it will chew it away, and then after that it will start chewing through you. And honestly, I've seen the results of an accident where somebody put a glove on, they were on a grinder. There's also a bench grinder, working on a bench grinder with a loose baggy glove. The thinking behind it is that if I've got a glove on and I touch the wheel with my thumb, it won't rub my skin, so I'm safe. Are they right, Ben? Not in a million years. What it will do instead is it will grab hold of the glove and it will drag you into the wheel. And one of these is just as likely to drag you in as well. The issue with it is that as it does that, it chews it all up, and the crushing damage, the crushing injury is horrible. I've seen someone tear a massive lump of flesh off the inside of his hand just on a pillar drill, just because a glove got wrapped up in it. If you don't have a glove on and you're doing this with a piece of metal in your hand, you've got a piece of steel, you're grinding away, or you've got that there and you're grinding away, and it takes it out of your hand, so it takes it out of your hand. That's dangerous because it can throw it across the workshop and injure somebody else, or even throw it into you, for instance, which isn't funny. That's why the whole PPE thing is coming. We're going to do a simple skills on protective equipment later on, but the 4-inch grinder is what this is about today. Don't use gloves when you're using your grinder. What I want to talk about is, I think that sometimes, if you've got a piece of work and you're holding it down and you're grinding away, there's always a worry that if you come across and you hit yourself with that disc, if you've got one of these in, a grinding disc, if it hits your skin, and it's got a glove on, it can chew that glove up, drag it into the grinder, and then break your finger, or worse, just remove it. And yes, I've known of people that's happened to. However, if you catch yourself, or you catch your skin with a grinder, which I've done a few times, you just get a cut, because you're so aware. There's a certain feeling of vulnerability when you've got, I had this thing the other day on the bench, holding it, and I was grinding, so I'm feeling straight away, I'm thinking this. So I feel that vulnerability, so I move my hand out of the way. So use your common sense. When you're using one of these, it can drag away with this. This is an old Harley Davidson custom foot peg, and all the chrome on it's all bubbling off and buggered, so I'm going to grind a little bit of that off. Show you how it works. Nice and secure. And all we're going to do is just take these sandpaper leaves or flaps on the flap disc. I'm just going to run it really gently, just with its own weight across there, and show you how efficient it is at cleaning off all that crappy rusty chrome. We are now, obviously that's not the finished surface, that's the first job. I want to get all the chrome off this, and that's the worth of a flat disc. It just took it clean off in a few seconds. I can't stress enough how useful and how versatile a tool your 4-inch grinder is. There really isn't much more I can say to you other than be careful of the way that it bucks when you switch it on, get used to that, practice it, be aware of it, become familiar with it, so that when it happens, it's nothing strange to you. First time I gave you one of these, fired it up, it jumped out of your hand. They are pretty feisty. They've got a life of their own. And obviously, if you know what a gyroscope is, if you remember when you were a kid, you spin a gyroscope and you try and move it, it forces against you. You get that with one of these. You've got that heavy motor spinning inside, plus 90 degrees, plus the blade spinning that side. So effectively, there's quite a lot of gyroscopic force. When you try and move one around, you'll find that it resists your movement. So get used to it, get proficient, practice with your 4-inch grinder. When you buy the discs, I can't stress enough, buy the best discs you can from a reputable source. For goodness sake, don't go buying cheap copy Chinese discs from eBay, because honestly, you're taking a risk with your life. Machine Mart, my favourite tool shop, I just buy flat discs in packs. They come out, which was that, 15 quid?
Yeah.
About £15 for 5 discs. They're not expensive, they're worth the money. If you're going to buy, I mean, that diamond disc was about £10, not expensive, and these come in about 2-3 quid each. So, honestly, if you're going to do this, you can't spend too much on discs. Get the right quality, because if they break up at the speed that that's spinning, bits of it come off everywhere and quite simply can be fatal. Big lumps of disc, especially the grinding discs, the heavy metal one. You get a cheap diamond disc and a big lump of that metal breaks off, it's coming out at zillions of miles an hour. Well, you don't need to know anymore here. And as for these heavy stone erosion discs, big lumps of stone coming out of that at 1,000 miles an hour, honestly, it's worse than a shotgun going off in front of you. You know, it's like shrapnel. So be very careful, practice with it and enjoy it, because a 4-inch grinder is one of the best tools you'll ever buy. Buy the best one you can afford, practice with it, get a load of scrap metal and go and destroy it. It's actually quite good fun, isn't it? Another little thing you can invest in, which I haven't put on for this, is some earplugs. So get yourself some Amplivox, or get some earplugs at least, or you can stick some cotton wool in your ears, whatever, because that noise is quite serious when it starts screaming its way through metal. And check with your neighbours, because it can piss them off as well. There we are. Anything else, Ben?
No, thank you.
I think that really covers it. It's very difficult to make this one. I've probably said a little bit too much, probably waffled on a bit too long, but I just wanted to cover taking the discs on and off. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments box. Always happy to advise. Buy the best one you can and practice, practice, practice. You cannot spend too much time getting familiar with your grinder so that you know what it does and you know what it's capable of and how badly it can hurt you if you get careless with it. I think it's enough, don't you? Okay, there we are. Simple skills, 4-inch grinder. Go and practice and enjoy yourselves. Take it easy, ride safe. See you next time. It does. Burnt metal.